A lot of the trucks, I mean, there was one truck where we were trying to get to roll and it refused. But yeah, I mean, they were all quite interesting to work with. The Happy Toys truck was my favorite because we had to do that from the ground up, you know. The Green Goblin head, that was Steven's thing. He wanted the Green Goblin.
Somehow I was thrown in with Steven at the beginning of it, and we went out doing what he called casting. Well, for those of you unfamiliar, this movie has a lot of trucks, which to him were actors. You know, to us they're trucks, but to him they were his central character. So he was casting and everyone else thought he was buying trucks.
And you know, that was probably the largest part of the budget for sure, was the acquiring, because eventually we would destroy them, or the ones that we had to rig. And being, how are you going to shoot these vehicles that were driverless? Because they had to go. They had to keep circling around, but you couldn't see a driver. And this was before you can go in there and wipe things out with the magic visual effects computer.
I never thought I'd be dressing trucks. And you'd say, well, why is wardrobe dressing trucks? Well, what we had to do, this was before digital. All the special effects had to be physically manipulated. And so in order to have these immense, massive scenes with these huge semis, there were drivers. So the driver's wardrobe fell to the wardrobe department. So we were literally squeezing these big stunt guys who were driving these trucks into one-piece unitards. And it was something. I mean, you got chills when these trucks were driving around, these massive, massive trucks.
Every vehicle was driven by somebody, but they were hidden inside the vehicle. There was no remote control or anything. Either you had guys that were inside of fake back seats, with little viewers they could look out of. They're there with extended controls driving. Or the Happy Toys truck, the driver was actually in the sleeper cab in the back. So he was back there, and then all the controllers up front moved on their own, but he was in the very back in the sleeper cab driving. The mule that comes up, they call it the mule, it has the machine gun on it. The driver was lying in the bed. He was actually laying down in the bed driving that vehicle. The steamroller that you see, the driver is in that square box behind the seat, the driver's sitting in there.
Would put a chain between the original steering column and put a column behind the seat, and there actually was a guy in there, but you don't see him. So all that from a mechanical standpoint, very interesting how they did all that. But,
Yes, we had a fantastic special effects team from Los Angeles, all with the mechanical of rigging them so that they could have their stunt driver down below with the pedals and being able to, visually see where they're going, but work the trucks from down below. But that was a lot of rigging that went into it.
It was Wilmington, North Carolina, coastal Carolina, eastern seaboard, heat and humidity hot. Oof. 98 degrees, about 95% humidity. And it was miserable. Now, that was miserable for the actors just standing around.
Sure.
The guys that were having to drive the trucks, they had black on, black hoods, full gloves, all long sleeve. And most of those trucks did not have air conditioning.
Ooh.
And they had to drive the trucks with the windows up.
Oh my God. It had to be like an oven.
It was exactly like that. And they would give them breaks every little bit, to come in and get water. And they would literally take bottles of water, in each hand and pour it over themselves, try to cool off, and then they would drink some. I mean, I felt sorry for a lot of people in that movie, but those guys, they had it the toughest. There's no CGI, real blowing up. They did have stunt drivers. I'm surprised they didn't ask John and Yardley to wreck the Malibu coming in there.
Sure.
But they had a loaded charge with compressed kick thing that turned that car over.
Sure.
It was pretty cool to watch. But then we had to wait till they strapped Yardley and John in there, in the seat belt.
Mm-hmm.
And being in that car upside down, screaming, seat belted in. Now, obviously, I wasn't in the car when it flipped, but I think I spent a good, half a day in that car, screaming and like, hey, get me out of here! Oh my God, I'm gonna die! Like, I screamed my lungs out. Of course, I had the time of my life. Stuff like that your mother would probably go, I wish you hadn't done that, honey.
There's a scene where they fire a bazooka at a
Yes.
truck that's right behind you, and you all have to jump to the ground at that moment.
Yes,
so
I remember
that looks
too.
like a non-stunt person. You were actually jumping in that.
That's true too.
Right.
Mhm.
What was that scene like? Were you?
Yeah, it was hot.
Okay.
I remember really hot, and I remember it was super loud. And I also remember there were a lot of things that didn't work. So those trucks, they were old, they bought them, but they were like jalopies, right? So, and then they rigged them so it looked like they were self-driving and all this thing. But half the time, they wouldn't work. So then there'd be delays, because you couldn't get that thing to work. And then, so I feel like with the rocket launcher that, rats, didn't work. Oh, back to one, it just was. And dusty, I'd never been so dirty in all my life. I mean, and like I said, it's 1 billion degrees in North Carolina.
There were some, how do I put this? Let's call them technical glitches.
Sure.
And there was one scene I think did 23 takes of because of the same issue coming up.
Wow.
That got a little old.
I imagine.
In the Fangoria interview, King stated, I argued very hard to get $100,000 for a truck hospital fund. The vehicles were taking such a beating. I never got it though, and I think it hurt us a little bit in the end. I had to make some compromises there.
There was, it always felt a little dangerous. For me, who had never been around stunts or stunt people before, it was wild to watch. I mean, in order to do the explosion of the truck, the stunt guys, they say they had to drive the trucks laying on their back on the floor, looking through mirrors. And so when it exploded, he had to let the truck explode. In other words, he had to go on fire and then run out of the truck completely on fire. So that was just terrifying.
But when you're doing a genre picture, you've got explosions, mechanical trucks and devices driving themselves, blood spraying everywhere, bullet hits going off, buildings collapsing. That stuff is fun. I mean, that's why, why you want to be in the movie business, is to go see fun, cool things happening.
Let me tell you about the law, Rocky. First of all, you're watching some Hollywood magic right there.
Sure.
Because, yes, with very serious, painstaking difficulty, they can be reloaded. But not just shove it in there and fire.
Sure.
And all of the stuff they shot were, dummy rounds.
Right. Yeah.
Thank goodness. And then the explosions happened on the other end. From pyrotechnics,
Sure.
But the toilet paper truck was a lot of fun to watch. I couldn't hardly keep a straight face in that scene.